everybody, welcome back to another session of the Hopry. My name is Mark Starr, and today I'm going back to Belgium. You know, I really love the Trappist beers. I just got done reviewing the Rochefort 10 not too long ago, and so I wanted to share another Trappist beer with you. One that is probably, I would say, in my top 3 of all the Trappist beers. It's by a brewery called Orval, and the thing that I like about the Orval, before I open it up, I'll just kind of give you my thoughts on it. It's one of the most unique Trappist beers as far as I'm concerned. Most of the Trappist beers that you'll drink will be like triples or quadruples. They're all really kind of heavy in the malts, and a lot of them have a lot of great bubblegum flavor, like I've said, a lot of dark sticky fruits as well. But the Orval is different in the sense that it's a much lighter beer. In fact, this one only clocks in anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5%. It actually changes, which is interesting. This particular bottle here says that it is 6.9%. And this one was just bottled fairly recently as well. Looks like it was the end of April of this year, 2009. So not a real old bottle, but you know what? That's fine with me. And I just noticed also that they started adding these little tags to it, which I think is kind of a nice little treat. It says on the back that this is exotically fruity and intriguing, and then it has a profound hop bitterness. And that's another one of the things that I think is pretty interesting about this beer, as opposed to some of the other Trappist beers, is that they do use a lot more hops in this one. In fact, I think they dry hop this one once or twice, just to kind of help give it a little bit more of a bite. So Orval is definitely one of my favorites. Now, you should be able to buy Orval just about anywhere. In fact, I think the Trappist beers are usually pretty widely available. You start talking about things like the Westvleteren, for example, virtually impossible to get those. You can only buy them at the monastery in Belgium. This one, in fact, though, they brew, and all of the proceeds that they make off of selling these beers help support their monastery, and then they also donate some of that money to their community around them. So really a good service that they're doing with these beers, and they're tasting really good in my stomach, so thank you guys, I appreciate it. Well, let's go ahead and start pouring this one, because you're going to notice right away that it just, and I should have known this because they just explode with head. Now, this isn't going to stick around for too long because it is a really loose head, and what I mean by that are the bubbles are really big, so you can tell that they're kind of dissipating. This one really looks like it's a soda, but I'm going to go ahead and pour it really slow down the side just to maybe kind of get enough in there for this tasting, and I'll take care of the rest later. But alright, so again, about a full hand of head on this one. Probably, would help if I actually had one of their Trappist beers one of their Trappist glasses to pour it in. But anyway, and looking at it, tons of effervescence in here. I mean, those bubbles are just screaming their way to the top to get out of there. So definitely a lot of CO2 going on. The head on it, as I said, it's a really pale, almost virtually white color. Kind of dissipating fairly quickly. Not too fast, but I think just about right. If you saw my session with the Saison Brett that Andy and I drank, a week or so ago, it had the same amount of head. So that tells me that this one is probably bottle conditioned as well, just to kind of help get some of that, that effervescence going. But anyway, let's go ahead and stick our nose in. Yeah, see, I really love the way this one smells. This one, as well as the Saison Brett, is brewed with the wild yeast called Brettanomyces. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, once you've had Brettanomyces yeast, you'll always be able to recognize it in any beer that you drink going forward. So I'm definitely pulling the Brettanomyces yeast out of there, getting a lot of like orange peel, maybe even just a touch of clove. I'm not getting the banana bread clove. I actually am getting the clove though. So it's more clove, orange peel, and definitely those Brettanomyces yeasts. There's some nice floral components there, almost like a floral honey, like an orange blossom honey. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever smelled orange blossom honey, but this kind of smells like that. It's got that kind of candy sugar, honey sweetness in there. But let's go ahead and take a drink and see what we got going on here. And I will tell you that the lacing on this one is as impressive as it should be. You can see that it's just kind of holding on to the side of the glass. So anyway, let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, this is really one of my favorites. I think it's a lot easier to drink than some of the bigger Trappist ales. This one really reminds me of a saison, to be honest. And I've mentioned the saison Brett a few times. I would say of all the beers that I currently have, this one is about as close to the saison Brett as it can be. Now, the saison Brett I think had a lot more of the lemon meringue pie, as we discussed. This one is just a slight bit funkier, maybe even just a little bit more sour. I wouldn't say this is approaching a sour ale by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a little sour funk in there. It actually tastes exactly like it smells. So when you pour this beer, and if you like the way it smells, you're going to be pretty happy when you taste it. Now again, just to kind of briefly, go back to what we were saying about the Trappist beers, there are only 7 monasteries in the entire world right now that can brew a beer and actually have the stamp that goes onto these bottles. In fact, on this one, I'm sure you can't see it from there, but it says authentic Trappist product. So, that lets you know that that's one of the 7 beers that are brewed in those monasteries, and they are brewed by monks. One thing that I find really interesting about this one as well is that a lot of the other Trappist ales have been around for a long time, sometimes back to the 17th, 18th century. This one is actually a very recent beer in that regard. I think they started brewing this one in 1931. So compared to something like the Triple Carmelite, which I know is not a Trappist beer, they've been brewing that one since I think it was 1673. So you can kind of get an idea for how new this beer is. But anyway, let me go ahead and give it another drink because, again, these start to change a little bit in flavor as they start to warm up. Yeah, I mean, that effervescence is really kind of helping facilitate all of those flavors. It really kind of bites your tongue as it goes down. I still think to this day this is probably one of the better Trappist beers out there, though you know what? I haven't had one yet that I don't like. So, well, anyway, thanks again for coming back. I think we're probably at around session, 20 to 25 with this beer. And I got to tell you, I'm having a lot of fun. If you're watching these, and it's either through YouTube or my website, which is www.thehopry.com, send me an email, leave a comment on my website or on YouTube. Why don't you tell me what your favorite Trappist beer is? Anyway, I would like to hear from you guys, and hope that you're enjoying these beers and that you're getting something out of them. And as always, I'll always, put a little section down at the bottom of my review that tells you where you can pick these beers up. Again, I'll tell you Orval, I think, is probably available just about anywhere. But anyway, thanks a lot for coming back, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.